Okay, so you're becoming a bit of an expert now. You've been able to create some basic formulas, so using the plus sign, the minus sign, the asterisk for multiplication, and the forward slash for division. You have also looked into formatting your spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet example you can see here is going to cover basic functions, but you can see that I've already formatted it because we don't need to test your formatting skills. There's a little box here and it says, using your knowledge of formulas and functions, fill in the missing gaps. A reminder of the functions you may need is listed below, and we're going to go through what each of these functions do. The functions are automatically programmed to do a specific calculation. You just need to select the data that it applies to. So the first one here is sum. So sum adds up a group of numbers. It saves you having to do equals plus, 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 plus. It can get very tedious if you have lots and lots of data in a spreadsheet. So there are two ways to do sum. So I'm going to start by clicking the cell that I want to apply the function to, and then clicking my FX tool, which is to insert a function. And I can search for whatever function I want. In this case, I need sum, and it's already here, so I'm going to double click on it. It's automatically selected the range of data that it thinks I want to add up. I need to make sure that this is correct. So if we check the cell reference B2, yes, that's the first English mark that I need to add up, all the way down to B17. That's not correct because B17 here is an empty cell and I don't want to include that. So I can come here and I can amend that and change it to B16, and it gives me over here what the total is going to be. If this wasn't included or it didn't have the values highlighted that you wanted, all you would need to do is make sure you're clicked in this box here, and you can click and drag to highlight the range of values you would like to add. When you're happy, you can press OK, and you can see your answer is here. There's another way that you can add up a range of numbers. You can use this lovely little symbol here, which is the auto sum. As you can see here, it automatically adds up cells. So I'm in the cell that I would like the total to be in, and I'm going to click auto sum, and it's done the same formula that I would have used before. But as you can see, because the total isn't directly underneath my list of numbers, it's included my empty cell, which is no good in this scenario. But if I was to press enter, we can see that it's given me the correct total. It just means if I accidentally put something in this empty cell, it can affect my total, which I don't want it to do. So that's all about sum, adding up numbers. You typically want to use sum or auto sum when you have more than two numbers to add together. The next thing I want to show you is how to calculate the average. So to calculate the average of something, we know in maths that you add it up and you divide it by the total numbers that you've added together. Instead, we're going to go to our fx function. We're going to look for average, or we can see average is already here, and I'm going to press OK. And it's just the same as with our sum. We're just going to delete the numbers there because it's not giving us the correct range, and we're just going to highlight the cells we want to calculate the average for and press OK. What we will notice here is that actually it's given us so many decimal points after, and we don't want that. So how do we get rid of those additional decimal points? Once you're in the cell, you come up here and you can see these two icons here. This arrow is pointing to the left, and that's to increase the amount of decimal points, and this arrow here is pointing to the right to decrease the decimal points. So I'm going to keep pressing that until all my decimal points disappear. And that is how you calculate the average and how you reduce or increase the amount of decimal points. The next function I need to show you is max. So this finds the highest number out of a group of numbers. And honestly, it's the same thing. We click on the cell that we want to apply the function to, we click FX, and we look for max. Here it is. So I press OK. This is not the correct number of cells that I need to look at. It's not the values that I want. So I'm going to scroll up, highlight my cells, we can see it's going to give me 92. I'm going to press OK, and it is 92. We can have a look in my list here. Just by a quick check, it is 92. If I was to change this to 100, we can see this is now updated, the total marks, the average marks is updated, and my highest mark has also updated. I'm now also going to show you min. So minimum, okay, if you haven't guessed it, is the opposite of max. It's going to find out the lowest number out of a group. So I've clicked in the cell I want to apply the function to, clicked my FX tool. This time it's not in my quick hand menu, so I'm going to type in min. I'm going to press go, and my minimum function has shown up. So I'm going to double click on it. Same thing, it's given me B22 to B23, which is not what I want. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to click and highlight the data that I want to find the minimum of. So I press OK. I've now got my minimum. You have now learned about 4 different functions. One more to go for this video. So the last one you need to learn is about count. So count, okay, counts the number of cells that have a value within a given group of cells. So instead of me trying to figure out how many students have got English marks, I can use the count function to do that. You can imagine that this is just a short amount of data. However, if we were working in a real organisation, if we were an accountant, if we were someone that was collecting data on an entire year group, it's going to be very difficult for us to know how many students have had their marks entered. So we click on the cell we want to apply the function to. You've guessed it, we click on our insert function tool, and look, count is already here. So I'm going to click on count, and yes, you've guessed it, we're going to delete the values there, and we're going to come here and we're going to highlight the values that we want to add in. There we go. Press OK, and it tells me that there are 15 students here that have had their marks entered. And that is all you need to know right now about basic functions. I hope you found this video useful, and if you need to use it again when you're completing your tasks in today's lesson, always feel free to use it and pause it as you go along.